Hey guys, welcome to my channel Brain Bloke again. Sorry about the head being cut. I'm just getting used to adjusting everything. So today's video is going to be about making scones, and if you've seen my other baking videos, they have been on carrot cake, and I just want to bring that carrot cake out to show you how that turned out. And you will see how great it was. If you can, I'm not sure if you can see that clearly, but can you see that texture? It was really soft. It was amazing. It turned out really well. And if you want to make a carrot cake of your own, just look at my videos and it should be there. So today's video is going to be about making scones, and these are very plain scones, really simple to make. So if you're new to everything, if you're new to all this, don't worry about it and I will help you get through it. I'm just following a quick recipe guide myself, so don't worry about being new to it all. So okay, so first of all we gotta preheat our oven to gas mark 7 or 220 degrees, and it's 425 degrees Fahrenheit if you're using a different oven like for fan oven, etc. And the recipe is 375 grams of self-raising flour plus extra to dust, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 60 grams of chilled butter or even margarine if you don't have chilled butter like I've got here, 250 millilitres of milk, and butter and jam at the end after you've cooked them to serve, of course. So first of all we're going to measure 375 grams of self-raising flour on my old school scale, and it's check it out, it's not your electric ones, but it does the job pretty neatly, so don't worry about, you know, having the best equipment and all that stuff. So yep, so here we're going to just measure 375 grams of self-raising flour, and let's see, there we are, 20, 40, 60, 75, got a touch more, so I'll just take a bit off, and there we have it, perfect. And now we're just going to add a pinch of salt to that flour in the scale. And there we have it. We also have to add a teaspoon of baking powder, and I've got the Dr. Oetker version here. You can also get a plain branded, it really doesn't matter too much. As they're doing pretty cheap, about a pound for a tub. So this is roughly a teaspoon I've got here, and we're just gonna add it here, and there we have it. Now all the ingredients I have got, I'm going to use my tiny little sieve. If you've got a bigger one that will help, but I've just got this at the moment, so I'm just going to use this, and we're going to sieve all of this dry cake scone ingredients in the sieve, and we're going to sieve it in the bowl basically. So just it helps if you have your palm hitting the sieve when you're sieving, because then the movement of that helps sieve faster. So yeah, so I'm just going to sieve all of this in now. And we should be done soon. And scones are really super easy to make. So again, if you're just starting off and you want to gain some confidence, etc., it will help to give you a confidence boost, because these are not that difficult to make at all. And even if you are if you do it as a hobby and you've practiced more, and then they're still a great recipe to make in your spare time. They don't take long. They roughly take about 10 minutes to prepare, roughly 10 minutes, and around 10 minutes to bake in the oven. So it's a very light recipe. So I'm just going to sieve a bit more of this in now. And again, you might have noticed me using really plain brands. Like the self-raising flour I have here is just like the Asda Smart Price one, and I think it's 50p or 45p for 1.5 kg, and that's a really good price. I'd recommend going to those guys to get your dry ingredients. Nuts, etc., they cost a bit more, but your basic ingredients like plain flour, self-raising flour, baking powder, I'd recommend you shop in Asda or Tesco, because they're pretty cheap, and you get a lot more for your money. So I'm nearly done with this. And I'm just gonna throw this in. Now our next step is to get 60 grams of butter or margarine, so don't worry about having the exact ingredients. So, and what I do, which is a clever trick, if you've got one of these standard very basic scales, because I don't want to wash up too much at the end, I don't put my margarine directly in the plastic container here, the weighing tub, and I just put the lid on top of the scale, slightly adjust the scale back to 0, and put the butter on top of the orange tub. That way, you don't have to clean the grease after, because you're improvising. So I'm just going to measure 60 grams of this. That's 20, 40, and there we have it, 60. Just put a touch more. Yep. Now I'm going to just put this to the side, and I am going to measure 250 milliliters of milk. So this little handy glass I've got here, or mug, it's 225 milliliters, I believe, in total, and so I'll just have to add a full glass and a bit more to make 250 meters of milk. Now just remember, before you add the milk, you have to make a, actually we have to leave this to the side, apologies for that, because we have to add the margarine before we add the milk, and then we'll be good to go. So I'm just going to add this. I'm just going to, because it's so the pieces are pretty large, I'm just going to use my fingers to tear little blobs of margarine and just spread them around in the batter, or in the cake scone mixture. And then we're just going to use our fingers to knead the mixture. So we use our fingertips, and if some of you may remember, if you chose food technology, as your GCSE options a while ago, or a long time ago in some cases, you're going to use a rubbing in technique. And so that's basically where you use your fingertips and you just, so as you can probably see, gather now, we're just going to use our fingertips to rub and blend all the ingredients in, and we know we'll be done when everything turns into fine breadcrumbs, so when there's no lumps around basically. It's nice, you know, it's also, because you have to use your fingers, you get used to the ingredients and you get the feel of how the sort of mixture should feel, and when it's not right and when it is right. So I'd recommend, if you've got, you know, fancy equipment, put it to the side and try and get in with your hands, etc. Whenever you're making cakes, biscuits, etc. Try and do as much as you can manually instead of using electric whisks, etc. Because then, you know, you'll have a gut instinct that'll tell you when things are right and when things are not right. So I've nearly done this now, and I'm just going to shake the bowl. Shaking the bowl brings all the clumps to the top and all the fine breadcrumbs, they sit at the bottom, and so yeah, you pretty much know you're done when there's no clumps left. So now I'm pretty much done, and I'm just going to shake the bowl again. Now we have to make a well in the centre, so just use your 2 forefingers and just twist in the middle until there's a hole, and add 250 millilitres of milk in that. Now, because I say I use hands all the time, you want to use a spoon at this stage. I'm just going to mix. We have to now mix all the ingredients in the bowl. So I'm using one of my fingers to mix. It may look very Victorian, but I just like doing it this way. You can also use a spoon, etc., or whatever you fancy. That mixes really. And now in the bowl you will see everything turning into a doughy texture, and that's what you want. So you don't want anything to be too runny, because we have to sort of knead this. So we have to like make all of this and turn it into a ball so we can get the shapes of the scones done soon. So that's what we're doing now. And remember, if it's too sticky and so you can't work with it and you can't really knead it, just add more plain flour to the dough so it's more manageable, and so you can handle it better and you can, you know, do what you want with it. And so even though it said add 250 millilitres of milk and I had 225 in there, I know I don't need any more, because the dough is looking fine. And so yeah, don't worry too much about being perfectly precise with things. You can get away with a few millilitres here and there. Now I've made the dough. Not sure you can see it now. Yes, here it is. And so it's pretty dry, so if you can see, I'm touching the top of it and it's not sticking to my palms. That's how it should be. So it's pretty dry, and which means it's manageable. And because most of you might probably use your hands to knead anyway, just remember to, at the end, just get all the remaining dough off your fingertips and just, you know, roll it down. You know, we don't want wastage or things like that. So yeah, here we are. And also rubbing your hand helps too, because it gets the fine dough particles. Now it sounds scientific, but it gets it gets all that stuff off your hands. And you need your hands to be free soon, because next we are going to line our baking tray with greaseproof paper and oil, or spray if you have that. I generally use oil. So now that we're done here, I'm just going to put this here, and I'm using this pan here. It's just a rectangular pan, a baking tray rather, and I've already oiled the bottom. Now I'm just going to get some greaseproof paper. Again, you can buy these for £1 a roll, and they're pretty handy. You can, I don't know if you have Asda, your main superstores, Tesco, whatever, you can get them there. They save you a lot of time, and you don't have to be cleaning the baking tin at the end too, so it's a bonus really. Now I'm just going to get some more vegetable oil to line the top of the greasing paper, greaseproof paper, so the scones don't stick to it. So I usually get these tubs here, and they're pretty handy. Again, these can be bought, I think they were on offer 2 for £5. Asda, here we go again. 2 for £5, and they're really handy because I use them all the time. And if you are interested in the big tubs, you can of course get the small ones. They're for £1 each, I believe. And yeah, so they're handy too. To be honest, I've never used sprays. I don't know how they're like, but I hear they're okay. So now that I've oiled the top of the greaseproof paper, I am just going to get the dough and make rolls, or balls of it rather, and use my hands to do that again. Also going to have some spare self-raising flour on the side here, so if my hands do stick, I can use this to get rid of that stickiness. And yeah, so here we go. So I'm just going to make about 8 round balls of these. And at this stage, if you do have cookie cutters, they're great. And some of you may have kids too, some of my subscribers do. And this is like a great time to get your kids around too, because you can use those cookie cutters or scones, or and you know, help them, or rather allow them to cut the dough for you after you've sort of rolled it out on a table or somewhere. So I'm just using my hands very roughly, and can you see I'm roughly, I'm not sure if you can, there we are, okay, I'm not there, hope you can see that. So I'm not making too big of a round ball, I'm just having, you know, a bit of thickness on the side, like an inch or two, and just making a small round ball. And I'm going to make 7 more of these, and then we'll have to put them in the oven. Okay, let's see. And again, it's also recommended that you don't over knead the dough or play about with it too much. Once it's ready and the dough's stuck together, and you can, you know, there's one big ball, a round ball of dough in your bowl, mixing bowl, then just try and get them into shape without touching them too much, because otherwise the texture of them turns, it's much harder. So after they're cooked, they won't be as soft as ideally you'd want them to be. So I'm just again covering my hands with self-raising flour before I go in again, and making another similar sized ball. And I'd recommend you do use your hands, maybe to get the gist of it. First time use your hands, second time, once you've got the hang of the recipe, use your cookie cutters or something, because then you'll know a lot about how the dough should feel, how the thickness of each scone should be, etc, etc. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. And for students, this is a great quick recipe. It replaces your biscuits, etc. You can make it on the weekend, and it makes a change from biscuits, etc, because it's homemade and they taste delicious. So again, if you can see how I'm rolling this, it looks like a patty. I'm just rolling it from the sides. No, I'm not rolling it, I'm actually pushing the dough in to form a round circle that's even all around the edges. So, one side is roughly the same as all this. Not perfect, but they don't need to be perfect. Remember, it's a really easy recipe, so it should be fun, it should be enjoyable. Don't see it as a chore. If you do see it as a chore, then maybe you're overdoing something, and so just bear that in mind. So I've made 4 little patties now. This is my 5th one, and we should be done soon. Okie dokie. Okay, we're done with this. Again, I'm going in with self-raising flour, and we'll be done soon. So yeah, it's roughly taken me about 10 minutes to make all these, including the preparation I just put all this stuff on the table. It don't take long. There's not a lot of washing up to do after too, so that's another benefit of this recipe. You've literally got about a bowl to wash, and it's not crazy amounts of washing up. You don't need to buy a dishwasher or something to get your washing up done. So yeah, I like recipes that are simple like that, and you get the most out of the least, really. So yeah, so I've got about 7 little patties here of scones. And again, if you're cheeky at this stage, if you've got a bit of dough left, don't eat too much. You can try a bit of it to taste, and it does taste nice and sugar. Yeah, it tastes nice and sugary sometimes. Well, we did add sugar to this, but that's because we'll be serving them with jam and something else. So yeah. So I don't recommend eating the dough. Eat the dough if you put sugar in it, and you can put about 20 to 30 grams of sugar in if you actually not 30. Put around 50 grams of sugar in if you like your scones to be sweeter. But now I'm just making them plain, very plain rather. So how I've arranged in the bowl of mine, the baking tray, I've tried to leave a gap between each round patty, and as you can see, like that, and they all stuck to the bottom because of the grease, the oil, which helps, and they don't shake around. So if you can see like that, so I've just spread them out so they have room to grow in the oven when they rise. And our final step is to get an egg and glaze the top of these. So I'm just going to grab an egg now. I'm going to be slightly crazy with this. Actually, again, I'm going to use my fingers to glaze. And again, if you cringe when you touch egg or things like that, don't, you know, use a spoon or something. But I'm using my fingers again, and just lightly brush the top. Try and use all the egg. It doesn't matter if you put too much on. It really doesn't. It doesn't like mess up the scones. So I'm just going to add this on. And the reason you add this on, because they give the scones a beautiful golden shine at the end. After they've baked, they almost glow. That's how crazy of a shine they have. So just remember to, and if you don't have an egg, don't worry about it. You can add some milk. Just brush some milk or use your fingers for that, and you'll be fine. They won't glow, or they never glow, but they won't shine as much as egg though, because it's, yeah, egg's more shinier. So just pour the rest on, and because the egg's just so runny and it's all around the baking tray, I'm just trying to spread it around the scones too by moving my baking tray around. This will cover them. So if you can see now, I'm not sure, I'll try and bring it closer. So that's how they look now, and they will be yummy after they're baked. So now, because I've preheated the oven already, and we're going to just put them in for around 10 to 12 minutes. And after that, they will be beautifully golden brown and ready to serve. Okay guys, that was the scone recipe. It's very basic, it's plain. I would recommend next time, do follow this ingredient, but add 50 grams of sugar to it. But I'm just experimenting around, but this is like the best way and the most simplest way to get scones done very quickly. Again, the description of the recipe is, the recipe is in the description below. Please like and subscribe, recommend any baking recipes, and I will be, I'll look forward to making a video on those. Like, subscribe, stay tuned, and take care. I love you all, and bye.